All right, so got a bit of a round table of high performers. So this feels like one of those like side conversations that happens at houseboating or entrepreneurs getaway or something else at about this time of the year. We'll do it on Zoom right now. Now that we won't have maybe some of these at the same thing, but it's a pretty, I don't know, it's a different time of the year. It's the end of July, July 26th as we record this. And we've got two entrepreneur of the week and a rookie of the week here. So just talk about what's going on in the business right now. This is typically seen as a slower time of the year. But meanwhile, you guys are putting out, $5 to $10,000+ a week in bookings right now, which is a ton of progress. Like if you can keep doing some of those things over the next few weeks and it turns into a bit of a fall business, or even if somebody just puts up some of those numbers for the next 3 weeks, you can have an amazing finish to a season. So, overall, again, we talk a little bit about what's going well for you, Jamie. Why don't we just even start with you? I mean, over the last, again, this is not the first good week you've had running your franchise. So, overall at this time of the year, what are some of the things that you're doing? I mean, specifically, I know last week, but in general, what are some of the things that you're doing right now to keep getting results and booking work the way that you are?
For sure. So I definitely I wouldn't say that I've had the best season compared to the last two that I've had. Like I had a really rough start, I would say. And I think I'm finally catching my stride now, which has been like pretty exciting to be honest. Like one of the biggest things I think that I do well is my Facebook marketing. And so it's kind of it's kind of funny. Just I made the Facebook post midway through like a week and a half ago now. So it just helped me kind of like realize that I had a lot left in my season to book, and that if I didn't start now, I was going to run out of work probably. So I made the post, and I just got like an insane amount of leads. Like it kind of has given me like 20 to 30 leads a week for the last 2 weeks, and then I still have a full schedule of estimates to do this week amongst Entrepreneurs Getaway. So yeah, like I think like I was really excited because the competition kind of motivated me too.
Yep.
And I wanted to hit those 50 estimates, but I wanted to see how many I could do in 1 week. And I didn't get them all in the system, but I did about 30 last week, easy, just trying to get them done in between jobs. So yeah, I don't know. I just like the Facebook definitely helped me and starting to do more follow-ups is probably the best way that kind of got my stride going.
Well, I think we'll talk. I think I have a feeling we'll talk about it a few times as we go through here, but like it's the mentality of it, right? Like I think when I think about this time of the year, often it's actually the franchisee that's tired. And yes, the market is tough, but it's a more of a mental thing, right? Like I hear me say it a million times, but in May, it's kind of weird. It's a twist, right? Like May, especially for a rookie, like you've got your lowest skill, but you can literally go like slam a pot and pan down the street, free window cleaning estimates, and people would come out and get one, right? Like, let alone knocking on doors. So when your skill's at the lowest, you're getting like 4 or 5 leads an hour. But as you go through the season, now we're into July, like getting a lead an hour, you're like, my skill's better, but I'm getting 25% of the output. And it screws with your mind as much as it is anything else. So, I mean, it sounds like you're getting some great leads from Facebook. I'm hearing that kind of all around. It shows that the market's not dead, but I think those leads that, in May, spring cleaning, like I'll get an estimate for anything, right? Like, you'd be like, yeah, I guess it's still on the list, right? So I think the quality and the success rate of the leads that happen now is significantly higher. People that are getting a window cleaning estimate in July are not tire kicking. Like they're interested in getting the service done. So yes, you may be getting fewer leads if you're cold calling, or even on Facebook, but they're typically worth more. So good for you, Jamie, on continuing that. I know it's been such a big piece of the thing you've been building over the last few years too. So
thank you. Yeah, like I think the biggest thing too is putting like a call to action in the posts. Yeah. Like making people like I kind of like phrased it as like this is potentially your last opportunity to get an estimate for the summer. Like I'm still doing fall, but they don't need to know that yet. And so like putting that out there, people just they want to move quicker, and they're going to move quicker if they realize that you're in high demand.
I completely agree. And again, I think people get that framing is so important, right? Like I get my windows done again once a year typically, but like I have you can see them behind me, like I can reach that with a 4-foot, like they get done multiple times for the year. I had the big bird dirt on the one behind me. So I'm like, well, while I'm here, I'll do it. But like people are there to get the work done. People's houses don't stay clean all the way through. So, TSAA is coming up, but a lot of people will get another cleaning, especially if they got it done in May and June. And there's a lot of people still working at home, so they see that stuff a lot more. So awesome. Colin, how about you? You've been rolling. Again, this is the third time we've talked, at least this year. So in this format. So again, congrats on another rookie of the week. It's like certainly like we should get rings for them. You start accumulating, like you start looking like Tom Brady hands on you. But for you, what have you been up to? What have you been doing to keep the momentum going and continue to book work through the season?
Yeah, so I'd say upselling has been huge for me. Even just like situational marketing when my employees are actually doing a job on a house. I'll say, look for their trees, look for evergreens, say, hey, while we're here, we'll take 10% off the job if we add this $100 gutter cleaning job on. Typically in this area, we're getting lots of this, blah, 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 from hail damage, etc. And Calgary weather is pretty unpredictable. Lots of people bite at that, so that's an extra $100 while we're on the spot, which adds up after a while. Otherwise, making those callbacks, I know it's pretty tedious. I can't market myself. I tried one day on the crutches, but it was a little slow getting around. But I'd say making callbacks has been pretty big too. I also just today actually sent emails to pretty much everyone, whether it's estimated, new lead, or we've already even gotten the work done. And I just made my own formats and I've gotten lots of responses from that. So hopefully I get some bookings as well. But just persistence and trying to squeeze everything I have left out of the year, because I do only have about a few weeks left in my production before I go back to school. So I'm just trying to tie up all my loose ends and get every single thing I can into the season. So just pushing as hard as I can. And again, probably the main thing is upselling at every single job site. I tell them to find one thing. My window cleaners find one thing, quote it. They all know how to quote it. And then even after the job is done, they can say, hey, just got it done. The customer sees they did a thorough job on their windows. And then they offered a lower price for the gutter cleaning or even pressure washing. And then we can get those from there. So I'd say that's pretty huge, is to get your actual techs to try to book more work for you, which definitely has helped me. But main thing is persistence, I'd say, especially at this time of the year. It's tough to stay motivated constantly. But
yeah, there's like an extra gear, right? Like as the Olympics just started, right? And I keep thinking every once in a while, I'll watch them, like how many times do you think those athletes didn't want to go, didn't want to train, right? He's got, like, sometimes you just got to do the work. And I think that's a piece of it too. And yeah, I think there's a lot of people that you did an estimate for earlier in the season that thought they were going to do it themselves, thought they were going to get to it, thought they were. I mean, there's that thing, right, where, when we had a painting side of our business, I remember that August was one of the busiest months for them because people were like, if I'm going to get it done, I got to get it done. Right. Like either that or they're not, like, homeowners start to feel like time's running out too. So not being afraid to go back to someone that you're like, this estimate on May 19th, like, I don't know if I want to call this estimate back from May 19th, but what's the worst thing that's going to happen? I say no, right? It's tedious. You may need to sit there and send some emails, but like getting a hold of somebody, you're going to book work. Like you said, you got a bunch of response. I'd be like blown away if you don't book some work out of the energy and time that you just put through some of that stuff. So absolutely. Cool. Well, good for you for squeezing that every bit out of every job that you can. And I would think about, sometimes people think about that as selfish. So like that you're taking something, and you've probably heard me say this before as well, but you're doing them a favor. It's a service business, right? Like if you're doing their gutters and you're helping them get their gutters clean, and as long as you're not like charging them $100 and there's like, they're completely clean, like you're doing a service for somebody, right? Like I think it's like going to the car dealer and getting something extra that I now don't have to go do. So I think that's a huge asset, huge element too, to think about. So cool. Well, congrats on your year. And when do you head back to the US? You must head back, you said, in a couple of weeks then, right?
yeah, my production ends August 13th and I leave about the 18th. So just a few days to get ready and then I'm out of here.
And your foot's good? Your foot will be good for them?
Not
Yes.
completely, but
Yes.
a little better. Yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully you don't have to load the crutches as you head back head back south.
Yeah. I'm sure.
Oh, right on. And then Calvin, I mean, we get a chance too. I mean, you and I talk often. You've been around for a bunch, but you've got a team that's making progress right now. Like your team's booking 20, 30 grand a week still, last few weeks. So I guess what are some of the things that your guys are doing and that you're able to do with some of your guys to be able to make that progress over the last little while?
Yeah, well, if it's 30 grand a week, I'd like to see that in client tether, but they've done pretty well the past few weeks, just as the market slows. Like, it is a real thing, but it doesn't mean you can't book work. Like, persistence has been a big theme here. So credit to them. They've been putting in a lot of energy. And I think if we're just thinking about like tactics, like we've talked a bit so far about repeat work, that's a pretty big one as you get later in the summer. I sent out an email campaign, I think it was like the second week of July, to basically everyone that we produced in May and June. So I put in a little blurb about like our new services. The main theme was repeat work and offering a small discount. And there's also a blurb about referrals. So that's the kind of thing, like you'll usually get a few responses off the bat, and then they'll just generally trickle in over the next few months. But the conversations with my RMs have been mainly about using all the resources you have. Like you can get to your goal if you straight cold call, but it's pretty painful at this point. But if you can reduce that through booking work via other avenues, like, and as long as you keep the grind going, it's super attainable. So things would be like, we've talked about like job site marketing, upselling, like using your previous customers, going back to people, like even going back to previous customers that have said no. Like you mentioned, like going back to estimates from early in the season, touching base with people you've already done jobs for, trying different areas you might not have tried so much, like really just trying a bunch of different options, going and knocking on the doors of PCs you haven't gotten a hold of. Another big one with my RMs as well, to give them some more marketing time, is as long as their team's proficient, which I think for all of them they are right now, they can also step off the job site while their teams are producing to go cold call. So if struggling to find the time to market's a challenge, then just have the techs produce jobs, like either a couple jobs a day or like a couple days a week, and the manager can just either call customers from like the car, go cold calling. Like there's a lot of different options. So the persistence is one of the biggest ones, but maximizing your use of like all the different possible avenues to book work is going to save you a big hassle versus just trying to straight cold call at this point. So, but again, credit to my teams. They've been pushing real hard, and we got some big goals to hit for the end of the season. So yeah, we'll see how it shakes out, but it's going good so far.
Yeah, I think using all those different tactics matter. The other piece that I would add that I'm seeing more and more people are getting more and more confidence with power washing and sealing. And people are starting to book a bunch of that work. That's a big piece. Like even I was looking, so we had a really early spring. I think this is, no matter when someone's listening to this will be a piece, but we had a really early spring. My wife like lost her mind like middle of April, and she had to get like the patio furniture out, which means she had to she power washed the deck. So it was just one of those things where I wasn't going to stop her. But that was April, right? Like that was April. And I was actually looking at our deck over the weekend again, and I'm like, I bet you it could use, not that someone's going to get their deck power washed twice in a year, so I'm not suggesting repeat power washing, but what I am saying is that a lot of people would be potentially that weren't interested in the spring or didn't even know about it when you were there. Like I would take, I mean, there's still 2 months left, and at least 2 months left, maybe more, before my patio furniture goes away again. And I use my patio furniture typically, in my case, a lot more in August and September, because July, I mean, it's like 30 whatever degrees out, right? So I think it's almost like going into deck season, and just thinking about some of that stuff. I think in the end, like you got to want to do the work, or like I think that can be a piece of it. If you're tired and you're like, I think there's this like, there's a lot of like that subconscious mentality that happens, right? Like, would I go put in energy to booking work that I don't have the energy to go produce? Like probably not, right? So, but there's like that thing. If you're not at your goal, there's still lots of time. If this was a normal quote unquote summer job, like you wouldn't just like mail it in for the last 6 weeks right before it was like you'd show up to work, right? So like I think there's an element of however you got to get your head there. Take some time, right? Like I mean, for me, when I ran my franchise, I took long weekends all July and August typically, but I worked my ass off for 4 days, like Monday to Thursday. And doesn't mean I did nothing on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but like I had more space. Like it wasn't as hectic, but I still worked. So I think there's like an element of that. If you're not at your goal, you still have work left to do. Take the easy route. And the one thing this group didn't talk about, it's probably a loaded question to open it up, but is needs rescheduling. The group that needs to be rescheduled. It's almost 1,100 jobs in the company right now. It needs rescheduling. I do not think those are all customers that need to be rescheduled clearly, But even if a quarter of them are a few hundred jobs, like we're looking at like 60 to 80 grand across the board, right? So if you think about that, as an extra $1,000, like, I don't know, you got to want to do the work, but I don't know how are you guys doing on needs rescheduling? That's usually a mental one too. We're like, I don't even know who Sandra White is. Like, I'm gonna call her. She was scheduled for May 28th. Oh man, I don't really want to make that phone call. Or you were supposed to call somebody back and you just didn't. So again, I'm not trying to lead it on that, like, the direction on that, but like, how does your needs rescheduling look? That's something this group didn't talk about, but I think is low hanging fruit for a lot of people. I tried to reschedule myself 3 times last year, by the way. So I was still willing to get my windows cleaned in August because they hadn't been done. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. They're still dirty. Like, I don't necessarily quote, I'm not pumped that you've no showed me, but I'd rather you clean my windows and not, and be pumped about it than it go all season and not get done. But anyways, what do you guys think about some of the needs rescheduling? How's that look like? What's that look like for you right now?
I talk to my team about it in every GSNRs. Where's your needs rescheduling at? So the awareness is there, and for most of them, the numbers are pretty small. So you just want, like, it's a good status as long as it's for like actual real like reasons. Like someone's like don't want to schedule it because construction, or if they cancel, you just move them to not produce. But it's like you just don't want them sitting there because like it's a missed opportunity if you're not using it. So
Yeah, I definitely think it's a missed opportunity if you're not taking advantage of it. I always save mine for Sundays. Sundays are when you're trying to hit your goal or just stretch a little bit further. I used mine last night to cross the 5K booking for last week. I had like 3 jobs that I just gave them a call, and it just kind of got me across that line. There's only one right now that I'm just waiting to hear back on confirmation on dates. But yeah, like, I don't know, I find if you front load your weeks, that's what I've been trying to do, so I can hit my goals, and then I can use that as kind of a little bit of a backup if I need it.
Well, Colin, how you been doing with yours? How have those conversations gone with people that you've had to reschedule? I'm sure you've had some.
Yeah, no, I've had lots of rescheduling. I kind of try to do it right away. Most of the people that are in needs rescheduling in my client tether are either duplicates, which I got to get on, or people that are kind of just holding off right now. They'll say, we had you booked 2 weeks ago. I'll get back to you in a month about doing it. So a little tricky, but I have been trying to reach out to them a little bit. And especially since I'm getting closer to close of the season, I'm going to go through that list one more time. But to be honest, it's not too big right now.
I think
And
what you said before about creating that urgency for the end of the year is a big one too for needs rescheduling. Right. When I say that,
Yeah.
needs rescheduling is also, I think sometimes we think it's our fault. It is, right? But like, how many times have you had the rain and you said I was going to call you back? Like, homeowners, this is normal stuff for a homeowner to have to reschedule and bump homework down. Like, I had my steps, actually, our front concrete walkway had a big crack in it, so there was a bunch of water leaking through it, so they had to replace it. They said it was going to be 2 days and it was 6. But that was last week at my house, and I'm just like, okay, well, they do something for a couple hours and then it would do this thing, and then they couldn't actually get enough concrete. They physically, like, they're like, we can't get enough concrete, so they poured some and then they had to come back and pour another day, and then they came back to take so I think that needs rescheduling. You're saying, Colin, with a bit of that, the urgency of the deadline coming up can help, and not to think you're just going to get yelled at every single customer. Like, you got to be a pest, right? Like, I think that's a piece of it too. Like, oh, I don't want to be a pest. I'm like, I'd be a pest. Like, I actually would appreciate it if I was in that position. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, I need that done. So, but cool. All right, guys. Well, it's great to see you, Calvin, Jamie. I'll see you, Wednesday. I guess, Colin, it was great to see you last week, I guess, week and a half ago. So great to see you guys. Have an awesome rest of the week. And Colin, good luck with your move back, and I'll see the rest of you guys soon.
Thanks, Aaron. Have a good one.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
Cheers.
Luck, guys.
Bye.